Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 110 of the City Brew Tours podcast, where we explore the best craft beer scenes around the United States. I'm your host, Brian. Great to have you back for another episode. Hello, greetings from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I currently reside and do this podcast from, as has been noted before on the show and will certainly come up again tonight. Happy to be joined again by my co-host for this month, Ethan Angelica, and also because this is a special episode, we're going to be bringing in our old friend of the pod, City Brew Tours extraordinaire, Isaac Bell. How's it going, boys?
Living the dream.
It's a good night to be drinking some beer, I'll say that.
Lovely.
Although that's
great.
Most nights, I'll be honest. But, you know, why make an exception?
I mean, to just completely go off of the joke here, I highly recommend everybody picking a night or 2 nights a week and just don't drink beer those nights. You feel a little bit better about yourself. And then those nights, whenever you do drink beer, you can go even harder. This is not medical advice.
It's budgeting is what I'm hearing, right? So you save up. Are we a money podcast now? I don't know. That's what I signed up for. I'm not really qualified.
Yeah. I mean, I was doing work on my 401k earlier this week, and that's where we're going with the show. We're gonna tell you how to. I don't know how to make a reference here without coming off like a complete asshole. So
I'm banking for my liver.
There you go. See, Isaac comes in for the win. That's it. That's the good right there.
That's right.
Amazing. Oh my god.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, we have a different episode. We're gonna catch up here, but just to let you know, and Franny, we could cut this, or we could leave it in, whatever. We are actually going to be playing a pre-recorded interview tonight that I was able to grab with one of the founders of KCBC. And before we jump into that, I'm going to catch up with a couple of friends here and talk a little bit about the beers that we're featuring and how we enjoy these beers and these styles, and talk a little bit more about New York before we throw to an excellent interview with one of the founders of KCBC. So so how are you guys doing? How are things in Brooklyn, Ethan?
Things are good. Still living my life between 2 bridges and between 2 breweries, which is how I do. I did some important research this week at Evil Twin, which I know we talked about last week, as you know, one of my local spots, and they continue to do crazy weird things with double dry hopped triple IPAs that wind up at 11% and have names longer than I can remember, and I had 3 of them, so that explains sort of what that experience was like. But it was a good week, and it's hot here. I don't know how things are in Pittsburgh or in DC area for y'all.
Hot.
Same.
Yeah.
It's hotter than the sun.
Yeah, Isaac, how is it there in Swamp Town?
It's not only hot, but it's humid too. I've got these really nice. If you don't have one, I suggest you run out and get one, or you don't have to run out and get one. You can find them on Amazon or wherever you order things. But they're these neck fans, and they literally go around your neck. They're a band. They charge with a USB. The one that I got lasts for 4 hours on high, and it just blasts air up all around you. And so I've had one.
They look like headphones, right? They look like headphones, but
except just like you put them around your neck. It looks like you just took your headphones off and put them around your neck instead. And I have 3 sets, and I rotate them out. Yep.
That's commitment.
It's commitment. And well, when you're a big guy like me, you know, it replaces the sweat towel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's the USB version. I like it.
Right.
Yeah. Moving into the future.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, it's good to hear you're both doing well despite the sweltering heat in all of our cities and all over the world. Apparently, if you didn't know, the last 7 days of recorded average temperatures in the world were the highest 7 days of recorded average temperatures in the world. So it's hot everywhere.
And you're trying to tell everybody to stop drinking beer.
See, I was going to say more reason.
More reason. Just take a day off.
Okay.
Days off. You know?
That's right.
You're banking on your liver. We're gonna wear that phrase out.
Yeah.
You've
also got to hydrate while you do it.
That's true.
You do have to hydrate. And speaking of that, thank you for that excellent segue. Tonight, we're featuring another wonderful brewery from the borough of Brooklyn, New York. We're going to be featuring the Kings County Brewers Collective, or affectionately known as KCBC. They are a brewery located in the Bushwick neighborhood with a tap room and production facility that opened there in 2016. We're going to be featuring two beers from the wonderful folks at KCBC. First, the Salu Alsatian style Pilsner, as well as the Marble of Doom number 4, which is a fruited sour, fruited with boysenberry, plums, and black raspberry. So two very different styles, but two wonderful beers. And we're also going to be joined for a quick interview with one of the co-founders and co-owners of KCBC, Tony Bellis. So yeah, without further ado, guys, let's drink some beers. Let's crack some beers.
Absolutely.
And
Presuming you're starting with the Pilsner.
absolutely, sir.
It feels like the right order of operations.
Yeah. I have a question about the other beer. What does anybody actually know what a boysenberry is?
I've never actually
No
seen
clue.
one. I'm fairly sure it's something that came out of Dr. Seuss and we just sort of decided was going to be a real thing.
Yeah, I've heard it about. So I know KCBC didn't just like make it up.
Yeah.
About being in their beer, but I recently made a sweet berry glaze for some pork belly burnt ends, and I did that with something called service berries, which I thought there was a brewery owner, and he was asking if I wanted some service berries to make this puree out of, or to make this glaze out of, and I was like, oh, this idiot, he means strawberries. Yeah, I'll take some strawberries. That sounds great. And he was like, no, service berries. And I had to look them up, and apparently they're very popular. They're very common. They grow. They've got a very sweet, sort of like blueberryish flavor, and almost like almost nutty. Like when you put pitted fruits into beer or puree into beer, you kind of get that almondy, sort of almost arsenic taste in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it tastes like. So service berries, whole new thing.
Okay, I gotta know, what do they look like?
I only saw them pureed, but they were like a purple.
All right, so just a purple. Well, there we go. That's gonna do that. Well, this beer is decidedly not purple. It is a beautifully clear, like kind of, it's given me already that light bread right off the nose before I even go in for it.
Yeah, that beautiful light bread, almost crackery. And you do get some nice fruit character from this. This is hopped with Strizzle Spalt and Barbe Rouge, which, if you didn't know, Alsatian Pils is kind of a take on a French style Pils, which we'll get into with Tony. But Barbe Rouge is one of the only, if not the only, it's the only hop I've ever heard of that is like comes from France. France is known for their wine grapes and a lot of other food products, but Barbe Rouge, French hop, and it really shines in this beer.
It's very cool.
Barbara and sister.
Well, it also feels very New York appropriate. I mean, KCBC, of course, an amazing New York brewery, feels very appropriate because one of New York's icons, the Statue of Liberty, the artist who made it was from Alsace, France. So feels like an appropriate New York beer. Jersey wants to fight us for the statue. We're going to keep it, but it's nice to be representing him in beer as well.
Excellent fact to share with the folks.
There you go.
I didn't know that the designer of the Statue of Liberty was from Alsatia. Is that what it is?
Alsace is how I've always heard it pronounced.
Alsace.
But presumably he would be drinking this beer or a version of this to cool himself down while he's dreaming up the big green lady that now graces New York's harbor.
Yeah, definitely. We'll go with that.
Sure, we're going to stick with that.
I like
Financial
that
and history podcast, guys. We're taking this a million directions tonight. I like it.
I'm just
surprised that. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Nothing. No, please go ahead. I was gonna make a dumb joke.
Oh, I have another dumb joke, but it's kind of a sad joke. I was like, I'm just surprised that Jersey is coming in and fighting over the statue. I think they have more important things to fight about, like being able to sell and make craft beer.
Fair enough. That's true.
Yeah, if we're gonna get on that, hey, Governor of New Jersey, sign the freaking bill.
Yep.
Sign the bill. Governor Tim Murphy, is that his name? That's a
Murphy.
different governor.
Yeah.
Murphy
Yeah,
is him?
last name Murphy. We blocked
Last
out the
name.
first part apparently.
We don't know what the first.
Yeah, Governor Murphy, sign the bill. Just sign the bill. Please. Can we help out New Jersey breweries? But
But
yeah, we're talking about New York brewers tonight.
yeah, but I want
Right.
to talk about the can art because KCBC
Yes.
has got some banging can art. Like consistently, these cans are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, so it comes from the fact that they have one artist that does all of their can art. I'm not sure if every single can has ever been done by them, but the vast majority of the can art has been done, by an artist by the name of Earl Halloway.
It's always got this sort of like superhero cartoon. I mean, of course, their classic IPA is the superhero sidekick, which is one of the hazies that I sort of learned to love hazies on for sure. But it always has this like kind of comic booky feel to it. It's always bright, it's always active, and I love it. I mean, both cans are given a lot of that tonight. So if you've got it in your hand, definitely take a look at it. But it's some of those are cans that I've actually hung on to because they just look so cool. They're just really beautiful and bright.
It's funny that you should reference superheroes and comics so much because before joining KCBC, Earl Halloway was a comic illustrator and created his own comic series. And that's really what endeared the folks at KCBC towards Earl and yeah, that comic superhero, larger than life illustrations really ties into the brand of KCBC now and has become just so synonymous with what they do. You know, you see one of those cans, you don't even have to see that it says KCBC at the bottom. You just know, oh, that's Kings County right there.
I was gonna guess either comic book artist or tattoo artist.
Ooh, I like the
Yeah.
second one. That definitely follows in these footsteps.
Yeah, speaking of tattoos and second ones, let's open our second beer and taste this. We're getting into things crazy tonight. Folks at home, you don't have to drink this fast. I will be drinking both of the beers or talking about both of the beers with Tony in our interview. But Marble of Doom, if we want to talk about tattoo artist stuff, the snake that adorns this can.
It's
purple
incredible.
And blue and pink and ambitious, and it almost looks like it's destined to be on a neon sign or something. Like,
yeah, it's shouting right at you, calling you, come over to the blue side. And goodness gracious, this beer is blue.
I guess that's where boysenberries must be blue.
I did my boysenberry research here.
Please, we were debating it before you got here. Please tell us, what have you found?
Before I got here, my camera just keeps shitting the bed.
Yeah, you were here.
Audio folks, you can't even tell. So a boysenberry is a cross between the European raspberry, European blackberry, American dewberry, and a loganberry.
Oh my!
You just named like 3 berries that I also don't know what are on top of a boysenberry.
Oh, come on! You know the raspberry, you know the blackberry.
Yeah, it's okay, so we're 2 for 4.
Yeah, 2 for 4.
You did like a dewberry or razzleberry.
A dewberry is something that's like really similar to blackberries.
It's like
they kind of look like
a Great Dane
raspberries.
and a poodle.
Yeah, and a loganberry is a cross between a blackberry and a raspberry. So we got blackberries and raspberries all up in the family lineage of these fruits.
So this is like the most complicated family tree of berry that we've got. That's produced this very tart sour. I will say that. I love the little kind of lacticness that I'm getting out of this one.
Yeah, and I would imagine those fruits are contributing to that too. You know, raspberries could definitely come off with a bit of sour character to them, but the boysenberry with that lineage of loganberry and raspberry and blackberry. I've never had a dewberry before. Let me quickly read the entire Wikipedia page and see if it says it's
of dewberries.
Says it's sour at all. Yeah.
Well, Isaac, clearly we've got another berry for you to add to your list of research here.
Right. I'm gonna have to do some berry research this summer.
The Berry Boys.
The Berry Boys. That's right. The Very Merry Berry Boys.
There you go.
Very merry Berry Boys.
I
Wait.
I gotta say I am a little upset to be missing out on this box. Because when I opened up New York many years ago, I spent quite a bit of time at the bar at KCBC. And it's one of those few tap rooms or few breweries that I've been to where I started, going down the list. And as usual, I start with a Pilsner or something light, a lager, and then slowly work my way down. And if everything's good, I'll just keep going. And everything at KCBC is always just a banger. So I've had many, luckily, Airbnbs or hotels that are close, and I've been able to walk back. But KCBC has put me in a doozy quite a few times.
Yeah, you mentioned it there, and I think we should elaborate on it a little bit. You said you opened up New York City. You didn't open up like the actual city. City Brew Tours has a location in New York City, and Isaac was actually the person to go up there and launch our tours originally there, and has been deeply involved in the evolution of the tours there, going from van tours, which were, let's just say, silly to drive a van around New York City, and moved more towards walking tours, which really ties into the neighborhood so much, as Ethan talked so much about at length in our last episode. The quintessential Brooklyn brewery experience is a Brooklyn beer crawl.
Yeah. And I do want to say it is a bit of a walk to get to KCBC from the trains if you're heading that way. So it becomes kind of a destination spot to get to. Right. And I remember the first time I ever went there, it was one of the first times I'd really seen like board games out and in full play in a brewery. And I thought it was spectacular, sort of in their earlier days. They also, interestingly, have a really cool connection to the environmental movement in New York. And they connect with some of the birding communities in New York, and have historically brewed a beer for birders and hosted like birding expeditions where people look at birds and then drink beer, which honestly sounds kind of ideal. Like
pretty awesome.
Pretty rad.
Let's have a couple beers and go look for birds.
I know.
That's Ethan, have you been to the Johnsons next door?
The Johnsons? No, what is that?
It's next door to KCBC. It's a dive bar, essentially.
It's a family. Yeah. It's a family home. The Johnsons, Mr. and Mrs.
You just knock on the door, walk in, and they serve you food. I love it.
Isaac told me to come over. It's all good.
I mean, that's what happened when I was there. I was like, where's a good place to grab food? And they're like, Johnson's next door. Like, go for it. And I actually went next door and ended up drinking over there. It's a really great little dive bar. That's their neighbor right next door. Recommended by the bartenders at KCBC.
Well, if the bartenders are telling you to go to a bar next door, you should probably go. That seems like a good recommendation.
I'll put a caveat on that before we jump into our interview. We have a standing thing at our brewery that we have two recommendations if people ask for a bar to go to. If they ask for breweries, we'll give breweries all around town. But if they're looking for like a spot around the neighborhood, we have two recommendations. And one is our industry bar that is like a small, dimly lit cocktail bar that not a lot of people know about because it's like on a back road behind a building. And we have the big like college style bar that's like go and get drinks and like have a bar experience, like, hey, we're going out, we might be dancing, like, and depending on how cool the customer is, how cool the guest is, and how much they might seem like they fit into the industry bar, we'll give them that recommendation. Or we'll give them the other recommendation. And it sounds like, Isaac, you got the real recommendation there.
Maybe. I like to think so.
Yeah.
That's where they send all the assholes.
At least this asshole.
Right. Go on. Get out of here, bud. Go drink next door.
Yeah.
We've had enough of you.
Yeah.
You can't have another. You cannot have another flight, sir.
I feel like ordering a flight already puts you in a top tier customer position, but
I don't order the flights, Ethan. That's not something I do.
For the love of God, please don't. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see if this is gonna work. We're just gonna test this on the fly here. Nope, that's just my background. There we go.
Oh, here we
that's
go.
ready to go. There we go. So now, thanks everybody for following along here. We are going to why don't we bring all of us back on there? Franny, cut that. Now we're going to throw to an interview, as we've alluded to earlier, that I did with the co-founder of Kings County Brewers Collective, Tony Bellis. Enjoy, everybody, and yeah, thanks for drinking beers with us, as always. Awesome. Well, Tony, thanks for agreeing to jump on the show here and talk about the brewery, talk about the beers. Oh, you're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you.
So we'll get started like we do with all of our guests on the show with our quick sip questions. These are fast questions. We want fast answers to try to get to know you fast.
Great.
Cool. So favorite non-KCBC beer?
Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Classic. Funny enough, we were just talking about my young daughter. Her middle name is Sierra.
Oh, that's great.
For that reason, I was able to sneak that one in there.
That's great. Yeah, I drank a lot of that beer. It was probably one of my first real entries to craft beer. So yeah,
same.
I'll take that.
Same.
Yep.
Favorite New York City dive bar?
Favorite New York City dive bar? I'm not sure though, because I guess it's a dive bar. A spot called Charlene's on Flatbush Avenue here in Brooklyn. Great classic place. Yep, it's a cool little spot. There's pinball, cheap drinks, beer, good cocktails. You know, it's a elevated dive bar.
Yeah, classy dive bar, the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Favorite 3 albums of all time?
Ooh, Metallica and Justice for All. Prince, Sign of the Times. I'm wearing a Prince shirt today.
Nice.
And I would probably have to say, what ISIS album? ISIS Oceanic.
Oh,
One of my favorite. It's a little bit of a deep cut. Yeah.
We'll certainly be talking more about metal stuff later. Best thing about Brooklyn, in your opinion?
Diversity. I grew up in a pretty homogeneous place. I grew up in the Midwest. Grew up just in a suburb north of Minneapolis, St. Paul. And I love how diverse New York is, just in all aspects: people, food, activities. It's fantastic. So I moved here. I came here on a trip once for music festival in during college, and I had in the back of my head, I was like, I need to move there someday. So been here 22 years now.
That's awesome. And then our final quick sip question: have you ever seen Bigfoot?
You froze on me.
Oh no. Okay. Have you ever seen Bigfoot?
We're back.
Gotcha. Got me.
Never seen Bigfoot, but I've drank a bunch of Bigfoot.
Bringing it back to Sierra Nevada.
Yep. Do you have me?
Yeah, I got you.
Let's bring it back.
Yeah, bringing it back to Sierra Nevada.
Yep, cool.
That's good.
No Bigfoot sightings, but I'll drink it.
That's fine. We ask that question as a swing, and sometimes we get some good stories. But on to the beer, on to the featured brewery. We have 2 very different beers tonight. Today, as we're recording, that we're featuring from KCBC: the Salu Alsatian style Pilsner and the Marble of Doom fruited sour. Let's get started with the Salu. What is an Alsatian style Pilsner?
it's a French style Pilsner that's, regional hops and a good dose of corn. I think that's really one of the things that makes it kind of distinct, especially compared to a lot of other, I'd call it like continental European lagers. So it's got a, cool hop note, floral hop notes to it. We like brewing. We brew a lot of lagers. We brewed that during. We do a little thing in May called Lager Appreciation Month. Where we just like to feature our lagers, and what do we crank out 10 different lagers this year during the month of May. So that was one of them. So it's fun searching for some I'd call it less known styles, at least here in the US. And that was a fun one to make. Really easy drinking, crisp. I think that that corn component to it really just makes it dry and crispy. We're talking with one of my brewers about corn last night. I was like, when I got into craft beer decade plus ago, adjuncts like corn and rice were sort of
a no-no.
They were a dirty word. Yeah. It was like, and it was, that was the, going against what big beer was doing. And then, and I think as we've gone along, we realized that like there are classic styles that have used different grain adjuncts. They're really beneficial. And this is an example of that it's always been used in this style, and makes it distinct. And there's nothing wrong with that stuff. So we like to mess around with it.
No, they're all different tools that you can use to get what you want out of a particular beer, trying to emulate a style. I really love this beer. When I had it the other night, I was thinking that that malt base really lays a good foundation for that hop character to really take off. And I think most people don't think of Pilsners as like hop forward or beers that showcase hops, but I disagree. I feel like the mark of a good Pilsner is that solid malt foundation, and then allowing the hops to express themselves, whether it's a single variety or it's a mix of hops. And this beer really comes together and is really very enjoyable.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I felt the same way, and I agree with you. I think lager's a great place to showcase hops. They might be more subtle and nuanced, but what flavor and aroma does come through is really distinct. And there's not a lot of other stuff getting in the way of you really experiencing that flavor. So glad you liked it. I hope other people do too. I think they did. The beer sold really fast. I wish we would have made more of it. So that'll come back around at some point here.
All right. Well, look, I'm planning a trip to New York City in May next year. Already started.
Nice.
So the brewery is very unique from its wide range of styles, which you're showcasing on the show this month, to the very incredible artwork, and even the name itself is unique. So what's the story behind choosing Kings County Brewers Collective as the name? Did you lose me?
I think no, I'm back. I don't know. I haven't bad connection here, but we really originated. I mean, I met my partners who we started the brewery together. We're all working in the beer world. We met kind of through the homebrew scene, and then we're working in breweries in New York City, and kind of discovered that we were all looking to open breweries of our own. And through that, as we were all working on business plans individually and all those things, just realized, the complexity of it, and liked the idea of coming together with some other people, and working on the project together, so that's where, the idea really came from. It originally started with, the idea of, there was five of us, and the original idea was, more of kind of a brewery incubator type of project. It was going to be a little smaller, with the idea that, is, come in sort of a proof of concept thing before, branching off and starting a bigger project, and then as we, sort of started working on a business plan, realized that we wanted to sort of be something different, really coming down to the economics of it. Like, God bless everybody that brews beer like 2 barrels at a time, 3 barrels at a time. It's really hard to make a living doing it. Really hard to scale it. And then on top of it, like trying to do that in New York City, even more. So really decided that, it needed to be something bigger. And then, around that, really focus on it is one brand, and then, within that focusing on, the people who are making the beer. And, I'd say, coming up on 7 years later, it's really about this group of people that are, all really talented and coming together as a team, to make these beers here at KCBC. So, and I think, Kings County is Brooklyn. Brooklyn is, the county that Brooklyn is the county of King is, so I think we felt it was really important that, it's where we live, it's what we do, it's what we live, and want to represent that. So that's kind of how we started out.
And the shortened version, KCBC, just rolls right off the tongue so easily.
It does, it's like AC/DC, it's acronyms are great, they're a blessing and a curse. There's some other KCBCs out there, not beer related, but there's some fun other people that use the acronym out there that always pop up in my social media feed. It's kind of fun to follow. So it does roll off. I think as we've gone along, like we just become KCBC now. It's very rare that I say the full name. So
yeah, that's how I've always ever heard of the brewery, is KCBC. And then whenever I went there and saw it written out, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
It's big, makes sense, but it's a big long name. So
give folks an out, give them an easy thing to remember.
Exactly.
I really want to talk about this second beer, but before we talk about the beer itself, we have to talk about the artwork. Yeah. The artwork on every one of the cans is just incredible, unique to each beer, but all in the same style because it's all done by the same artist. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, Earl Halloway, artist that we met, does all of our artwork. He was friends with one of my founding partners, guy that he knew, and we were looking around. We knew we wanted an illustrator, to do the artwork. Didn't necessarily know the style, and we started looking around a bunch of different people. And the moment we saw his artwork, we were like, "Oh, that's the guy." So he's been for 6 years now. He's been illustrating for us full time. We do a lot of different beers, and we keep them pretty busy, making new labels. It's fun, I mean, sometimes the artwork comes from a name, and sometimes there's artwork that inspires a name. He did a killer job. It's always really fun. I love getting final art from him and be like, oh, I didn't even imagine that. There's some stuff that's pretty great. No, he's really talented. It's fun. I think it's really become iconic with our brand. It's like you said, I mean, there's a wide range of themes that we take on, but they all have this touch to it that is totally Earl. So he's great. Yeah,
I imagine it's really special when you and your co-founders and everybody else that works at the brewery puts everything that they have into these beers to then get this artwork that's going to really be how people think of the beer when it's out there, and get these artwork proofs and have it just blow you away. I imagine it's each time it's a little special moment of there it is again. Like,
Oh yeah, I think for me, it's like I think all of us, love visual art. I've always been a sucker for album art. Can't tell you how many records I bought over the years because I had a killer cover and I didn't
yeah,
even know what the band was.
yeah,
So and I think beer works the same way, and I do it with other brands. I walk in and man, I've bought a lot of beer because the can pops visually, and with there's a lot of beer. There's a lot of beer in the market. There's a lot of great beer in cans on draft and stuff, and it's a little something to add, something distinct that hopefully grabs the attention of some people. So yeah, it's definitely a big part of what we've become as a brand, for sure.
So our other featured beer tonight is the Marble of Doom #4. What's the
Yeah.
biggest challenge with creating these heavily fruited sours? For the folks at home, this has boysenberry, plum, and black raspberry in it.
Um, I think it's coming up with a flavor combination. It's coming up with the fruit combinations, and then also like the ratio of fruit. I think my partner Zach, who really does a lot of the recipe formulation, along with our head brewer Bobby. Like those two, they're really good at it. At this point, they're really good at like knowing what fruits are going to work well together, how much of this you need, if it's with that. It's like if you're gonna have black raspberry, what proportion should it be? And I think that's what we've gotten really good at. Like I think we have a really consistent flavor. We put a lot of fruit in there. They're very expensive beers to make.
Yeah.
Fruit sour can definitely cost more to make than a double IPA. I think it's what consumers don't know all the time. But we're always trying to buy the best fruit you can get, and and make something that's like easy to drink, and and something that's different. It's not. I don't think I would have guessed 7 years ago when we opened that we would be making as many of these beers as we did. It was just sort of starting to become a popular style. I'm blown away with where it's gone. I think it's you had a lot of long time beer drinkers that really fell in and fell in love with that style, and then I think it's brought a lot of new people to beer too, and opened the doors for people. So it's fun. Endless combinations you can do. There's a lot of fruit in the world. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So the brewery's done collabs with death metal bands like Gatecreeper and Behemoth. You've poured beers at Decibels Metal and Beer Festival, and locally here in Pittsburgh at the Brutal Beer Fest.
Brutal Beer Fest. That was fun.
That was a good time. I really enjoyed that show. Can you talk more about the breweries as well as your personal connection to metal music and the metal scene especially?
Yeah. I've just been a lifelong metalhead. Literally it was like, second grade, seeing a Motley Crue album cover. So it was literally, it was 9 years old, and I was
What
like,
is
oh,
this?
that's what I like. um, pentagrams and spikes. That's awesome. So, yeah, I've always just been a fan, and I feel like it. There's definitely a lot of people in the beer world that are into metal music. It's like our brewery. I feel like it's metal and hip hop. That's it's what I grew up on, and so yeah. It was always my dream. And I didn't know really how to do it, but it was I saw breweries like I think Three Floyds was the example of really kind of the first crew that was really doing it, and I'm going to shows in New York City all the time. I think I met a lot of people kind of through the music scene in the city, and just going to shows, meeting people, and then starting to meet people that are in bands and working for labels and that kind of stuff. And things started, kind of rolling early on with KCBC. I think, we first worked with, local music venue here and bar, St. Vitus Bar, worked with those guys on a collab, and it kind of snowballed from there, and now it's, I wish we could do more. It's hard to as we grow, but it's always really fun, especially when you connect with bands that are really into it. We just did a beer with Undeath, who are from Rochester, New York, and those guys were like killer band. I mean, I just love the band, and it was cool to find out that they really liked our brewery too, and so that was like really fun to work on a beer with them, and they're stoked. And I think it just I think the metal and beer thing is just like mutual admiration for what each other's doing. I think you get people in bands that love beer and breweries, and vice versa. So that's we'll keep doing it as long as we can. It's fun to collaborate with other creative people.
They're really similar in the sense that the serious stuff that needs to be taken seriously is taken seriously, and that anything else could just be a joke, a LARP. Metal and beer people like to have fun, but whenever it's time to get serious and either write an album, perform, write a recipe, brew a beer, curate a guest experience, like they get serious too. They are communities with a lot of character.
100%. Yeah, couldn't say it better. I agree 100%. And I think it's just people that are passionate about what they do, put a lot of creativity and artistry into it. They seem like completely different things, but the approach to making them is really similar from the process around doing it. Band might be writing guitar riffs, but we're writing a recipe, and then we're both making album covers. One's making an album cover and one's making a can label, so it's like and then there's a release party, and then band goes on tour, and breweries send their beer out into distribution, so it's it all works together pretty well. It's pretty cool.
So before we finish with our traditional last question, I have a question with a bit of personal connection for me. Just last year, the metal scene lost one of the greatest vocalists that the genre has ever seen, Trevor Strnad of the Black Dahlia Murder. He was a huge inspiration for me, as I saw the band countless times, and basically I copied everything he did whenever I was in a metal band. I just ripped off everything that he did. He's from Detroit originally, but lived in Brooklyn for some time, I believe in the same neighborhood or close to where KCBC was. I just wanted to ask, like, since we're here talking about this, did you know Trevor before he passed? And if so, what kind of relationship did he have with the brewery?
I would say I knew Trevor. I met him twice. I met him at shows. He was a fan of KCBC. I actually delivered beer to his apartment once early in COVID. He kindly gave us a shout out on a podcast, and then we connected on social media. And previous to that, I'd met him in passing at shows twice and said what's up, and once I had a KCBC shirt on, he mentioned that, and then mutual friends through bands in the scene and stuff. But it's sad. I mean, it's just he was kind of living down the street from here. I frequently drive by the building he lived in on my way home. Killer vocalist. I love that band. Cool to see them, Summit Decibel Metal and Beer Fest last year. proud to see that they decided to continue it. And they're
Yeah.
killing it. I mean, you know, dude's got to be looking down, being like, guys are carrying on the torch pretty well. You know, but yeah, he seemed like one of those guys in the scene that was just like, he was a supporter of people and what they were doing. You know, I mean, you know, him giving a shout out to KCBC on a podcast, he didn't need to do that. He was, you know, but he was, you know, he was talking about something he liked. You know, it's like whether you're talking about a band you like or a brewery you like. You know, it's, you know, that's cool, and I think, you know, just showing admiration for, you know, stuff you like and people you like. So huge loss. Yeah, it's I can see why you say you're inspired, you know, in bands you've played with by him. Like, you know, if you're gonna rip off anybody, that's the dude to rip off.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a beast, man. Oh, you know, so
Sad.
yeah, sad loss. Yeah, shout out
Yeah.
to Trevor, man.
Yeah, shout out to Trevor. We all miss you very much. And everybody
Yeah.
at home, check in on your friends. You know, check in and
Yeah.
see how people are. You know, that person you haven't talked to in a
Yeah.
while, just give them a call, shoot them a text, check in on your friends. You know.
Yeah. Don't question that. You know, it's so.
Yeah. So that was so now that we have brought the mood down to the floor, we will we'll end on our normal final question. We've talked about, you know, your love for the diversity of the neighborhood of Brooklyn and what that brings in terms of the culture and the food and the people and everything that contributes to what makes a community. And we've talked about the beer scene and music scene, of course, but what is one thing that you wish Brooklyn was more well known for? You know, New York City is so well known for so many things, but what do you, is Tony, a guy that lives there, a guy that runs a business there, what do you wish people thought of when they thought of Brooklyn?
Oh God, I mean, you're gonna hate me for this answer, but I wish they thought of beer. Yeah, no, it's funny. We have such a killer beer scene in New York City, but it's pretty small. You know, I mean, it's small for a city that's big. You know, we have what,
Yeah.
8-9 million people in the five boroughs. I think we're still at less than 50 breweries in the five boroughs. I mean,
It's nuts.
there's cities fractions of our size that have more breweries than us, and so I think we do have a great reputation for like the quality of breweries in New York City. You know, the cool thing about New York City, and I think it, you know, because it, you know, it's probably the most challenging city in the United States, possibly the world, to open a brewery, and there's probably maybe some slightly harder cities, but it's hard to brew in a major metropolitan area that has high rent, high cost of living, all that stuff. You know, so what I think it does do is, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it well. You know, there's not a brewery in the city that I wouldn't go drink beer in. You know, so like people come here, like, where should I go? And I'm like, I don't know, figure out what pocket you want to go to. And we have lots of good little kind of neighborhoods that have, you know, pockets of breweries that you can go. And so I wish we had a better rep as a beer tourist city, because it's, you know, quality of breweries is fantastic. And what better city is there to go to? You don't need to drive. You can subway around the city and drink beers all day. So I wish we were better known for that. But we're working on it. We're working on it one by one. You know, just keep making killer beer here.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you're doing a good job of that, specifically at KCBC. And before we take off, anything particular you want to plug, people should know about?
Oh, anything we should plug that people should know about? Oh my God, that's an open-ended question.
Oh, I'm gonna plug the Instagram, so I got that covered.
Great. Hey, look out for our beer. We're you know, available all over the East Coast. You know, support craft beer. Like buy from your local breweries. Support people who are making beer the hard way. I think your listeners and people who are buying beer, I think are doing that, but realize that we're small businesses making things the small way. not always It's not always an affordable thing to buy. There's always something cheaper, but we put our heart and soul into it, and support craft beer. It's important. We're important to our communities. We're important to people's livelihoods, and boy, it tastes delicious. So why wouldn't you want to support it?
Yeah. According to the
And
website, you could...
and I'll add my love of music. Go support musicians. Buy albums. Pay to go to concerts. Support artists, and support musicians, and make it something that they can make a living doing as well.
Yeah,
I'm passionate about that. So
yeah, and it doesn't have to be a metal. We've talked about metal so much here.
No,
Find the genre you connect with, and support the hell out of those artists. Like
exactly. Go see their concerts, buy their merch. Just streaming on Spotify is not paying people's bills. So please help them out with other stuff too.
Certainly not. Yeah. Thanks so much, Tony, for taking time out of your day to join us here. Thanks to Casey.
Great talking with you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was awesome. I feel like we could have talked for way longer, but we'll keep it limited for our editor's sake. Thanks to KCBC for sending beers for the show. You can follow them on Instagram at KCBC Beer. And thanks to them for sending beer for our beer club. If you are interested in getting wonderful beers like this shipped to you on a monthly basis, and also help support this show if you're enjoying this podcast, head over to shop.citybrewtours.com and check out subscription options. You'll get beers shipped to you on a monthly basis from our featured city that month. And you also get lots of benefits that come with being part of a beer club that's run by the nation's oldest brewery tour company. Also check out citybrewtours.com. We have touring options in over 20 different cities. Next week, we'll be back to talk about yet another wonderful brewery of the Brooklyn borough. But until then, everybody stay safe, be kind, and support local breweries, and support local music too. For God's sakes.
For God's sakes, do that, please. Cheers.